Okay. That's pretty decent. Hey guys, it's G from the F Word here to do a spoiler-free review of Matador, which just released on Netflix for me, or I just noticed it right now. On Netflix, it will say The Killer for You, but the actual authentic title is Matador. And I say it like that because that's just a cool way to say it. Matador. So, what is Matador? It is about a story about a man who was raised by a killer who becomes a killer himself for a Frenchman who's taking over people's lands in 1940s Brazil. And things happen. Our main character, who's Diogo Morgado, who's, I believe, most notably in those History Channel Jesus movies, and I think there's one called The Bible too. He plays Jesus. He plays this guy that was raised by a killer named 7 Ears. 7 Ears. I'm not going to tell you why. It's pretty crazy and gross story, so I think it's worth you checking it out and finding it out. It's got a narrative structure talking about the story of him and how he became known as Matador and became this kind of legend in this small section of Brazil. You'll notice that the language is actually in Portuguese and not your traditional Spanish that you would find. So the dialect is different. You will notice it's different. I actually had to look it up and remind myself that, oh yeah, this is Portuguese. This isn't what you'd find, on, Spanish like you would on like a Narcos or something like that. I'm not very familiar with a lot of languages, so please forgive me. So we've got Cabeleira, we've got this Frenchman called Monsieur Blanchard, our voiceover narrator who, we actually see, and he's talking to these guys that are pretty bad news. So it seems like he's just telling the story to stall because these guys look like they want to kill him and his boys. So I would stall if I were him. So Cabeleira has been with 7 Ears for a very long time, since he was a baby. And 7 Ears would go off, do his own thing. He would then come back. He would teach him how to hunt. He would teach him how to eat everything from scorpions to lizards, everything. And he also teaches him about, different styles of bullets and how to be a killer. He trains this killer from a very young age. And so one point in 1910, 7 Ears is gone. This kid is there, probably maybe 10 to 15 years old, by himself, waiting for him to come back. And the last time he tried to leave their little compound, this little 500 square foot stone or brick hut with one outhouse, he almost died of dehydration in this big sandstorm that was rolling through this desert. So he's been scared to leave, but eventually he does leave, goes into, town to see people for the first time. He's always heard about people, but he's never actually seen people, interacting with people. He ends up killing these guys in a bar, given these pebbles, which he gets extremely fixated on. So I don't know if the pebbles were actually something that people use as currency, or if it's just a narrative construct for the story. If they're using it as a way to, instead of money, they're using these pebbles that look beautiful. And so he's fixated on them. He then goes to find this French guy that people are telling about, Monsieur Blanchard, who owns this empire, stealing other people's lands, killing other people. And he was using 7 Ears as a killer. Blanchard tells Cabeleira, our, Matador, that 7 Ears left, went to his family or whatever. And our Matador doesn't know any better. So then he's like, okay, I want a job. I want to be your killer. Becomes his killer. So he goes on, makes a lot of pebbles, sleeps with a lot of women he's never done before because he's been so secluded. And so next thing you know, other things happen. We meet this guy named Four Eyes, who's a real creep. He's OCD. He's got his shrine where he's completely devoted to, and he goes and he puts pictures of people that he's unsure of. So he draws these pictures and he puts them on his shrine. If you've seen Breaking Bad, you've seen the Salamanca twins do this with Heisenberg's drawing. It was a small little cutout with his face on it, and they put it on this shrine saying, okay, he's done now. We're going to go kill him. So this is what this Four Eyes does. He watches things from the ground, his hitman squad for the Frenchman, and he also has his own goon called Scar who does these hits whenever he puts one of those faces on the shrine. This guy's crazy. I'm not going to go any further because you kind of have to see that storyline. It's pretty intense. But anyways, where his storyline ties in is the Frenchman has hitmen that kill women and children because Cabeleira doesn't. He sends them out to kill this one guy's wife and daughter, burn his house down. This guy gets obviously really, really upset, and he's on the hunt to go kill the Frenchman himself. good things about this. I like the style. I like the Western. I specifically like a Brazilian Western because I've never actually seen one before. So when you see one and you're like, oh, that was kind of cool. Like, it's got a very good Western feel, but you can tell it's definitely not your typical American Western. It's very quiet. I like the fact that it is more emoting than anything, specifically from our main character, Cabeleira. I like that everyone kind of does most of the dialogue for him, but they don't do it to overcompensate. They do it to compliment him, which I also really appreciated. It's a very quiet movie for something called The Killer or Oh Matador. I like that a lot. The cinematography was really nice. It looked really good. A lot of the shots that they had, specifically when they were showing us the Frenchman, because they were shifting in tone there, was, brighter colors, because he does have his empire. He's got people that come over. Him and his wife are, entertaining people and letting them do whatever they want with women and men and throwing parties and everything like that. So that was really cool too. Acting was really good in this. So yeah, those are a lot of the really good points about it. Some of the things I wasn't a huge fan of is the fact that the narrative structure, the tone shifted a lot. And I understand it shifted for the purposes of, again, showcasing the Frenchman and showcasing his world, which then goes into the brighter colors that I was mentioning and the good stuff. Just a lot of times it happened too late, if that makes sense. The beginning of this movie starts off in such a way and it's consistent with that. Then all of a sudden it changes, and it kind of changes throughout. And not to say that it gets funnier or more brighter, but it just seems to change a little bit. And I'm having a tough time explaining exactly what that is, but you'll notice it when you see it. The other thing too is the storyline with the Four Eyes and this husband and father of these two people that died, and his house got burned down because the Frenchman sent out his hit squad so he can get more land. That storyline kind of took away from the Cabeleira one. Now, it ends up coming full circle, and they address it. The narrator addresses it in the show, in the movie. But again, it's kind of one of those things where I would have liked it to be more peppered in as opposed to been devoted to, if that makes any sense. Again, didn't take away too much, but it was just one of the things that I noticed that I probably would have liked that more peppered in as opposed to giving it its own section. Not too much in terms of negatives. It was a good movie. You should see it. I would take a look at it, especially if you're not familiar with foreign films. I think this one would be a really good one to get you into. Narcos is not necessarily foreign. It is in the sense that it's got the subtitles, but it feels like a very well understanding and fleshed out foreign movie. So if you're not familiar with foreign movies and you kind of want to dip your foot in the pool a little bit, I would definitely try this one out. It's a pretty good one. It's not great by any means. I'd probably give it about like a 7, something like that, 6.5 to 7. Again, nothing too much happens. A lot of the story is telegraphed. You can kind of tell where things are going, so there's not too many surprises. But it's a well acted movie. It's a well put together movie. A couple of tone shifts aside, it's still definitely worth your time. That's my quick review of Oh Matador. Thanks for watching. Have you seen Oh Matador? Have you not seen it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? I'd love to know. Leave a comment below. And yeah, let me know what you guys thought. So that was my review of Oh Matador. I am G from the F Word, and I am